For a long time, we worked with Ron Daniels. We just did so many things. Ron organized an organization called Freedom Inc., Freedom Incorporated. I think in the late 60s, and Freedom Incorporated had the Uhuru Center on Hillman. The major church that supported us was, of course, New Bethel. Quadro Simon was the minister at that time, Reverend Kenneth Simon's father, and we were radicals at the time. That's what they called us. So wouldn't no other churches support us, and he always supported us, and we always came to New Bethel, which is why we're at New Bethel today. Freedom Incorporated was an awesome organization. It was a family organization. They had the Native Son bookstore. They had the Freedom Press. More importantly, they had the Marc Garvey School for African Education. Many of our students who were raised there have become doctors and lawyers and engineers. We taught young people. We were very, very actively involved in the assembly assembly at Gary, Indiana, where we talked about independent black politics. During Freedom Incorporated, we brought nationally known people to Youngstown all the time. That was one of the first things that I missed about Ron leaving, because we didn't have the connections that we had before. Because we had Ron Dellums and C. Dolores Tucker and Farrakhan, and I remember Dr. Betty Shabazz staying at my house over the weekend, and just all kinds of people we brought. Fontroy, we just brought so many people to Youngstown. It was a Pan-Africanist organization, and Pan-Africanism in Youngstown has always continued. We have a youth group called Harambe. We've had it for 50 years. We got it started as a result of Freedom Incorporated having their African dancers, Egbelu Odija. And just when we go down the street to Warren, Akron, people be looking at us in awe and be like, these kids are so wonderful. And in Youngstown, they just take them for granted because they're so used to seeing them, you know, because we do Pan-Africanism, nationalism every day, all the time. That came from our influence with Freedom Incorporated, from our influence with Ron Daniels, from our influence with Maulana Ryan Karanga, who had Kaiwa Ida and started Kwanzaa. In Youngstown, we've been doing Kwanzaa since 1968. If you come to Youngstown during the Kwanzaa season and you come to New Bethel, it could seat 1,200 people, and we're going to have 1,200 people in the audience. We're going to have people standing in the audience. The paper always says 300, but they be lying. They be lying. All the time it be filled for Kwanzaa. That came from our influence with Ron Daniels and Freedom Incorporated. Freedom Incorporated was a major, major local organization, but it was a national organization. So when Ron said, I gotta go, we understood. We just was pulling on his coattails hoping he wouldn't go, but we knew he had to go. And our people deserve for him to go. I'm long-winded and haven't had a whole lot of sleep, and that makes me talk longer. So I'm gonna turn it over to Mercedes.
Thank you, Lynette. My interaction with Ron comes from a different place. I knew of Ron Daniels when I was in high school, but Ron's way older than me. Okay. And because he went to Youngstown University with my sister, my two older sisters. So I got to know his reputation at that time because Ron was a big Kappa man on campus. And Ron, you also did poetry, am I correct? Ron used to write poetry. And later on in life, when I was older, I interact with Ron when I was staying in Canton. At the same time, Freedom Incorporated was developing, me and some other people was developing a Pan-African organization in Canton. And so we would always interact at the Midwest Coalition. And Ron was also a big man at the Midwest Coalition. So his reputation has continued. And then later on, when I moved back to Youngstown, I joined the Black Political Assembly and worked with Freedom Incorporated. But my reflection is a little bit more personal. Ron and Ron Miller and Mr. Loki, when I came back, I was a single person with a son. And they got together and provided themselves, without even telling me anything, mentorship for my son, Kenneth. And that I do appreciate, and I want to say asante sana. So we've been up and down the road plenty of times with each other, but Lynette said most of it. So that's the conclusion of my reflections.
You know, we could say more. We can go on and on. Everybody in here, you have a personal relationship with Ron, and you came because you wanted to pay tribute to him, because you know some things that he's done, because he did organizations. As a young man in college, he was a mentor to younger men in school. He just, again, dedicated his life to the liberation, the victory for black people. Sometime I myself can lose faith and seem like it's harder. And just yesterday, I'm talking about how hard it is, and Ron said, you worried about your leg, and there's people who cannot walk. You got to get up and do what you got to do. So he gave me inspiration just from those little words. And he wasn't trying to, he was just telling me, keep moving with that. So that it is important, it is essential to have Ron Daniels in our lives. We are grateful to God for giving him to us. What he's doing today is what he do, you know. He have us give to him so he can give to us, the community. We next have reflections from Brother Rick Adams, who is the former chair of IBW, who just left IBW, and he's going to do reflections.
All right. I know I'm not wrong, but y'all can do better than that. You know. Claim it and name it. I want to thank, first of all, Reverend. This is outstanding. It's my first time being here and seeing what you've built. And when I hear the stories of what once was, I hail from Pittsburgh. Youngstown has a special place in my heart, starting with, we're both steel cities, but we also cities with a lot of spirit. Also, there are a number of folk that I've been impressed and have followed and worked with that are Youngstown people. I think of Oliver Montgomery, steelworker extraordinaire, union organizer. I think of now Dr. Daryl Takufu. He came with a troop of folk into Pittsburgh, into Homewood, where I live, and boot dance and ideology that we could take and use every day and work with. And then finally, I have the pleasure of being the chair of a board of a health organization, and we're building a $30 million health center in the community that I hail from, and it's named after Wilford A. Payne. And I understand that some folk know the Payne family here in this town. So this is a special time for me. Brother KK, he's an IBW board member, and we just have started to connect. We hooked up with a legendary rapper of the X-Clan, Paradise Clan, Paradise Gray, rather, and we're going to be doing some ongoing work that I hope that you'll join with us in building and continuing the work of Ron Daniels. Let me say that when Ron first came and got me from pre-K, I was shocked. I didn't know anything of the world, but he came and he spoke of things I knew nothing of. President, I think somebody may have mentioned that, in 1992. He ran for president, so I could proudly say to people when they say, oh, you know, you're going to vote for the Democrat, you voted for Clinton, and I could probably say, no, I didn't. I voted for Ron Daniels. And they'd look at me. But I said, yeah. Long in the tooth and been in the struggle, we worried that folks had forgotten Malcolm X. And about 1990, we decided that it had been a number of years since Malcolm's assassination and that our shining black prince needed to be raised up again. And it was Ron who had the vision, the nerve, to pull us together across the country. And we had celebrations and observations. I know in Pittsburgh, we had crowds of like 1,000 people coming out to honor Malcolm X. I know Abyssinia Church in New York was filled to the point that people had to circle the building. They couldn't even get in. So it was Ron. If it wasn't Ron, it is Ron. And that's kind of the theme that I want to talk about. The present president, I'm not going to say much about him and ruin our appetites in our day, but Cuba's under attack. Well, it is Ron Daniels that pulled together a group of folk in a forum not too long ago to say we need to stand up for Cuba because Cuba stood up for us. It was Cuba that went into Angola and beat the South Africans in a pitched battle. They sent over 100,000 of their own people to fight. You know, it wasn't rhetoric, to fight. So who brings those issues before us but Ron Daniels? It was Ron who rallied folks on each coast in the United States from the faith community to say that we ought to speak up about decriminalization, legalization of marijuana. You may not imbibe, you may never have imbibed, but the fact that people need to be protected, and if they got a problem, it needs to be a health issue, not a criminal issue. And you see now, people are making what? Millions of dollars on marijuana, but our people are locked up in jail. It was the initiatives under the leadership of Brother Ron that put reparations on the table writ large, but also about this issue of marijuana. In the legislation in California, folk of our community get an opportunity to get a franchise and engage in legal vending around marijuana. And part of that effort is to repay those who have suffered. You know, we got hit twice with that marijuana scourge. It is Ron Daniels who has started the Pan-African Unity Dialogue that has continental Africans and African people coming together, meeting on a regular basis, that are speaking on many of the issues that confront our people internationally. So it's Youngstown, it's the Hill District of Pittsburgh, where he spent some time, so we claim him too, so there's a tug here. You guys didn't want to let him go, and we didn't want to let him go either, so when he comes to this part of town, he got to visit both places. It was Ron around the issue of disparate treatment of the law, that we had justice collaboratives in Philadelphia, in Washington, D.C., in Pittsburgh, in Baltimore, that worked on those issues that affect our people so frequently. We have the Black World Media Network because it is Ron who said we need a platform that is a diasporic, not just a local hometown thing, but international, where African people, whether they're in the Caribbean, whether they're in Africa, whether they're in Europe, whether they're in Asia, and yes, we are everywhere. When you start investigating, you know, a lot of folk don't know down in Brazil, the largest concentration are African people, 80 million, I believe it is. Finally, I want to say that Ron speaks out everywhere, all the time. If you don't know about it, check out Vantage Point on WBAI. Check out From the Desk Of. You can get a word on any of the issues that face us. Ron, I characterize as a man of the 4 F's. Foresight and analysis. He got one of the sharpest minds. Reverend Jesse Jackson benefited from his association. Now, we benefited from our association with Reverend Jackson, but also it was a two-way street. If nothing else, if I didn't get nothing else out of it, I can name drop now. I can name people, yeah, I was in the meeting with, I know so-and-so. I mean, the folk that have been influenced by one Ron Daniels is awesome. Facilitation is another F. He has prided himself on what I call high political practice of facilitation. High political practice. We all talk about Black unity and working together. There's been some people that haven't done Ron right. We all love Ron Daniels. But there's some folks, they weren't principled. We got into cooperations and alliances and coalitions, and sometimes folks ducked and did their own thing. But Ron never held that. He would call them back to the table so that we could all work together. And most of the time, he was successful. So facilitation as a high political practice. And then the final F is follow-up. This brother, he'll bring something that I long ago forgot. And he'll remind us that we need to follow up. We need to go back and dot an I, cross a T. I had the pleasure of being able to go to Grenada last May. Why did we go there? Because Louise Langdon Little, Malcolm X's mother, is a Grenadian. She's from Grenada. And so that plot of land where she grew up and where the legacy began, so to speak, is now going to be honored and lifted up. Some of the local folk didn't realize what they had. But now, in an ongoing effort, we're going to work to raise up. Many times we talk about the men, Malcolm and Martin, but we don't talk about Betty and Coretta. We need to understand that most of the time, and Reverend, you can correct me if I'm wrong, we're in these churches, and there'll be some men folk, but it's the women. Same with the civil rights and human rights and Black Power movement. It was the women that raise up. And one thing Ron has consistently done, any effort, we can't have a committee if it's not co-chaired male, female. Now we've been practicing that, what, 40 years, 50 years maybe. So if you're listening by stream, you all right here physically in the audience, send your money. Freedom ain't free. We're celebrating this man who's given his life. And I was teasing his son. I asked him, do you have as much energy as this man? He tires me out. And I'm 10 years younger than him. I don't know how he does it, but he's no ways tired, as Fannie Lou Hamer is famous for saying. Don't you be no ways tired, because we got a lot of work to do in this pivotal year that we're going to go on to victory. Thank you.
Happy birthday, Ron. We've both been around a long time, but I think the world needs us. Certainly the world needs you. We're living in very dangerous times that are not favorable for us as a people. And we need your courage and your leadership and your work in the trenches, as you've always done. And I know you must be getting tired, but I think the ancestors have to give you the strength, and certainly you have the courage and the wisdom to continue the fight. So I'm certainly wishing you, many happy returns of the day, so to speak, and also a long life ahead of you, because we certainly need you not just for the next year or two, but for many, many more years to come. So peace and blessings to you, and may the ancestors give you the strength and wisdom to continue with the work that you have taken on yourself, which is in the tradition of my father, Marc Garvey. So a wonderful birthday to you, Ron. All the best, my best wishes to you and your family. Take care.
Hey Ron, Mark Morial here, and I'm at Yankee Stadium today celebrating Jackie Robinson Day. So in the spirit of Jackie Robinson, I want to salute you on your birthday. I want to thank you for your friendship, for your mentorship. You are truly one of the great Pan-Africans of our times, one of the great leaders in the reparations movement, and someone who understands institution building, coalition building, and collaboration. My family and I want to thank you and yours for your incredible friendship, for your incredible benevolence, and also for your wisdom and mentorship over the years. God bless you, happy birthday, and may you have many, many more.
The year is 1978, 79, 80, towards the end of Jimmy Carter's administration, when Ronald Reagan, conservative force and governor of California, launched a campaign in Philadelphia, Mississippi for president of the United States as a Republican. There was no force in the Democratic Party capable of challenging the Reagan Revolution quite like the Reverend Jesse Jackson. So Jesse Jackson began a voter registration crusade from Virginia around to Texas, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Texas, Tennessee, in hundreds of counties where more than 40% of African Americans lived, to register them to vote and to engage and stop the Reagan Revolution. Reverend Jackson went to Andy Young and to Mayor Maynard Jackson and to others seeking their potential candidacies to inspire African Americans to register and vote. When Jesse Jackson ran in 1984 for President of the United States, it was really to inspire a new generation of African Americans to engage the system and to stop the rollback to our civil rights that Ronald Reagan and his movement had begun. In that campaign, after African American traditional Democratic leadership decided not to run, he asked Joe Beasley and Dr. Ron Daniels, Lou Carter, to set up the Southern office of the Jesse Jackson for President campaign. Under the leadership of Ron Daniels, we registered hundreds, literally thousands, maybe over time in the millions of African Americans to vote in that Southern campaign. Ron Daniels' leadership was indispensable in that effort. I remembered when we moved to Atlanta, Georgia, and stayed at an apartment on Peachtree, and Ron was responsible for making sure that we were surrogating throughout the South, meeting the demand for Jesse Jackson's time that no one else could meet but for the leadership of Ron Daniels, Lou Carter, and my participation. On this 84th birthday celebration, we honor and celebrate the life, the work, and the contribution of Ron Daniels. Why? Because by 1986, even before Jesse Jackson ran again in 1988, we had registered and inspired enough voters to retake control of the United States Senate at the height of Ronald Reagan's popularity. This simply was not possible without the coordination and the leadership in the South of Ron Daniels. He would go on to represent Reverend Jackson in Haiti and in Jamaica and in the Bahamas and in the Caribbean as a significant part of the foreign policy arm of the Rainbow Coalition. And so Ron Daniels' civil rights work domestically here in the United States and around our country is very significant. And when I reflect upon the life of my father, so much of the work that we did in the South was under Ron Daniels' leadership. And I want to say happy birthday to you. Congratulations to you. Thank you for making this movement possible. Thank you for making this movement strong. Thank you for the extraordinary contribution that you've made to civil rights. It will never be forgotten. And the work was indispensable in bringing about the changes that ultimately led to the forming of the Rainbow Coalition, to the election of Barack Obama as President of the United States. Ron, we did the work on the ground. Congratulations and happy birthday.
Next on the program, we're going to have a person in the name of Ron Perry. Ron Perry was one of the members of Freedom Incorporated, which Ron started in Youngstown, Ohio. Ron always said, he always used the word kazi. And kazi is the blackest of them all. That means work. And so Ron's going to talk about Freedom Incorporated's work and how he participated in it.
First of all, I'd like to start off by saying happy birthday to Dr. Daniels. And I was fortunate enough to be blessed to be one of the members of Freedom Incorporated. Probably one of the most exciting and memorable times in my life. Back in the late 60s and the early 70s, Youngstown was rough. It was totally different than now. When you look out and all that grass that you see now, there were houses and buildings and activity and everything. It was a different Youngstown. When we started out, we were down on Fifth Avenue. I don't know how many people will remember, on the corner of Fifth Avenue, across the street from the county jail, which is now part of the WRTA Transit. And then we moved up on Hillman Street, and everything changed. When we came on Hillman Street, the late Reverend Lonnie Simon and New Bethel Church. Reverend Lonnie Simon was not just always willing to lend us a helping hand, he was always willing to lend us two helping hands in any way that he could. And I'd just like to say we certainly appreciated Reverend Lonnie Simon and the New Bethel Baptist Church. But if anyone remembers the buildings, we were only one block up the street where you see all the green grass now. We had three buildings on that property. The big building on the first floor was Native Sons Bookstore. At the time, you could go in there and get anything that you get cheap on Amazon now. We sold quality stuff. We had everything in there. Artwork, jewelry, books, statues, you just name it, bangles, the jewelry. So that's, with the bookstore. Then on the upper floor, the third floor, we had the school, Marc H. Garvey School for African Education, where the classrooms were and where we conducted the classes for the students. In the lower level, in the basement, is where we had the newspaper, Freedom News. And all of the buildings were built back then, probably in the early 1900s. So can you imagine back then trying to get a printing press down in the basement with a staircase this narrow? I don't have time to tell you what we went through doing that. but we made it work. Next door was the administration building. On the first floor was, the office buildings. We had a big room where we would do the dance troupe, where we had Igbe Louis Nijo, and it's just so great to hear that sound again. It just runs through my blood. So we had the administration building where all of the work really happened, and I'll come back to that. But in the back building, we had, I'm not going to say we were the first that I ever seen when we started silk screening back there. I had never seen silk screening, and we started producing our own sweatshirt, T-shirts, where we were able to put on them what we wanted. But backing up to the newspaper, one thing that I want to back up a little bit and say, Dr. Daniels was the chairman of Freedom Incorporated. So respectfully, we always refer to him as chair or chairman. And under his leadership and direction, one thing about him, and if you worked with him, he's a no-nonsense type of brother. We learned so many things. So we had the school, we had the bookstore, we had the administrative building. In the back, we had the silk screening operation. You move a little bit further up the street on the corner, I said on the corner, of Hillman and Earl, we had a grocery store, Freedom Foods. And when you ran into Freedom Foods, everything that we started to do, it was always an obstacle. We always worked hard to try to eliminate the obstacle. We started a grocery store. It was hard back then to find a black manager to run a grocery store. Back then, it was hard to find a certified butcher. We sent a person to school, and they became the certified butcher for the grocery store. We had a 9-acre farm out in Pulaski, Pennsylvania, that we used to grow the vegetables. And it was nothing like, we used to have a large group of kids that we picked up out of the Kimberbrooks. And it was nothing like picking the kids up, keeping them out till late evening on summer nights, and then when you finally get that produce that they have grown, and let them take it home, because it was so important to get the kids to understand that your produce is not produced in Giant Eagle. You have to do something in order to grow it. And if you can fish, then you can always eat. And that's what we always tried to teach the young people. We had other things that we did. We had an operation. We had a promoting agency, which was Stage Door Productions. And we brought groups in, such as, some of you had to be older to remember, the Made Ingredients, the Emotions, Eddie Kendricks. And when we would always have our events down at Reed's Arena. And it was just so exciting and electrifying, and people came from far and near just waiting on the events that we gave. And not to mention Culture Weekend. Culture Weekend was just something that was so exciting. We would plan and we would work and I remember one thing, I was young, and the first time hearing a steel band, it was just something electrifying about that sound. And backing up to Kwanzaa. We had Kwanzaa. I remember we worked with Ron Karanga, and we had our first culture down at what they used to call the Black Y. Young people will remember it as being the old rescue mission. We used to use the gymnasium and have our ceremonies. And one thing about it is the experience of Freedom Incorporated is something that was always life-changing for me. We ran from New York to California. We had organizations that we worked with in Greensboro, North Carolina, Peoria, Illinois, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, Washington, D.C., and it was just amazing. When you would go to these cities, they would be looking to see us come into town and with open arms and just always treated us well. So I'd just like to say the time that I spent in Freedom Incorporated, I would like to also say Brother Bill is sitting in the back. I remember when he went to New York to study under Denny Zulu, and he came back and he began to teach us the drumming. And it was like it was just a natural gift to him because he had everything in order to do it. He had the movement, he had the mouth, he had the shoulders, he had the rhythm in order to play the drums, you know. So it was just a blessing and a fortune to be able to work up under him. And in closing, I would just like to say one thing about the chair, is that this is something that I know he won't remember. And sometimes we have to remember with young people or people, period, something that you can tell that person can change them for life. The chair went out of town one time, I think for a couple of weeks. He had left me in charge of a project. And he left, he I think he was gone about 2 weeks. And the way the building was set up, the back roof was large where he could step out of his office window onto the roof. I was in the back doing some work, and he came out on the roof. My free name was Ero. He said, Ero, how did you make out on that project that I left you in charge? I thought I had did something good. I looked up at him, I said, Chair, I wasn't sure how you wanted me to do that, so I didn't do anything yet. He looked down at me, he said, Ero, that's never a good excuse. He said, if you had to did something and made a mistake, I would have supported you and we would have worked it out. He said, but to do nothing, he said, that's unacceptable. And I've taken that one particular thing and I've taken it through my life and the journeys that I've been through after all of those years. So I'd just like to say thank you, Chairman Dr. Ron Daniels, for your leadership, your dedication, and your commitment to your people. It's always been unwavering. And I would also like to say, even as a little boy, before I joined Freedom Incorporated, I was in the drill team that he used to have, so he's been a part of my life for years, and I just like to say God bless you and continue to keep up the work. Thank you.
The next person on our program is part of IBW staffers, who is listed as hopefully continuing the next generation of IBW in the person of Louis Romain.
And as a part of the next generation, I've had a few experiences to see Dr. D give a check. And I feel like you haven't really been in this liberation struggle unless you get a Dr. D check. So I'm going to make sure I don't get checked and I stay in my time frame. So y'all pray with me. But want to thank the pastor for opening the doors of this church so that we can have this auspicious occasion with you all this evening, this afternoon. As we are gathered here at this church, we are here gathering to celebrate a giant. And as we look at Dr. Ron Daniels today, we aren't just looking at a man who made history, we are looking at an elder statesman who is still actively authoring and shaping our futures and the Black liberation struggle. So Dr. Daniels has now returned to Youngstown, Ohio, and I have known Dr. Daniels for about 13, 14 years now. And in those 13, 14 years, I've celebrated a few birthdays with him, but this is the first time that I'm actually able to celebrate a birthday with him in his hometown of Youngstown, Ohio. And it's important because this isn't just a nostalgic trip, it's a reinforcement of the foundation that he has set and laid. With the Freedom Incorporated decades ago, Dr. Daniels has shown us that while the Steel Valley might change, the grit required for Black liberation remains consistent. The world sees the global leadership and the national commissions that he may sit on, or the state commission boards that he may sit on, but to those of us in this room who have known him for years, know that the true role of this elder statesman and this strategist is tireless commitment to mentorship and training. Dr. Daniels, you have always told us that the struggle is not a sprint. You have lived your life as the ultimate long-distance runner. You've identified those who are passionate about Black liberation and taught us that this passion is just the spark. But character, strategy, and discipline are the fuel that allows us to stay the course. You haven't just developed initiatives, you have trained a new generation of long-distance runners to take the baton with precision, ensuring that the fight of equity never loses its stride. On a personal note, I know that there are folks that have exclaimed how they miss Dr. Daniels being here in Ohio or even in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. But I like to rub it in your face that I'm grateful that he is in New York, where I am in close proximity to. And with that, it gives me access to profound wisdom. And being in this orbit, it's like a masterclass of how to lead with both an ironclad conviction and a heart of reconciliation. And though this proximity, I should say through this proximity, I've learned that the work of racial healing, it isn't passive. It's an administrative act. It requires the precision of a scholar and the soul of an organizer. Because of Dr. D's guidance, I've been able to help administer some of this healing in spaces that desperately need it. And carrying the lessons that he has lived out over these 84 years is so impactful and enriching to the work that I do and the work that I've committed my life to. So today, I ask that you join me in saluting and celebrating this professor, this statesman, and our favorite long-distance runner for justice. May we all be as faithful to the course as he has been. Happy 84th, Dr. Ron Daniels. Let's keep working, let's keep moving, let's keep building, and may God continue to bless you on your struggle and on your fight for liberation.
Greetings, friends. We're gathered today to celebrate 84 years of a man who has never been content to simply witness history. He's also been insistent on shaping it. My friend, Dr. Ron Daniels, is the person that I'm talking about. Dr. Daniels is what I call a movement man, not a moment man, a movement man. And that's really important because he stays when it's necessary, not just at the moment. Across decades, whether through the National Black Political Convention, Rainbow Coalition, the Institute of the Black World 21st Century, or his own presidential race, Ron has carried one consistent truth. Black people deserve power, not just presence. But let me tell you something about Ron Daniels, something that doesn't get said enough. This is a brother who takes care of himself. And in taking care of himself, he takes care of all of us. He's my role model in health. Because I'll tell you the truth on him and on me. Some of us are looking for something good to eat, something that we shouldn't be eating. Ron is making the disciplined choice every time. Because it's not just about health, it's about his commitment to the struggle, to the people, to us. Mindful of his body in a disciplined, intentional way. Understand if he's going to be in a struggle for the long haul, you have to carry your purpose. And let me tell you, this brother has a microwave with him in his hotel room most of the time. Because he's not just going to eat anything. He gets his meal, he nukes it, and while the rest of us are scrambling for some fried chicken, Ron Daniels is eating his soup. Not to say that he doesn't eat fried chicken, just to say that he basically believes in balance when it comes to his body and his food. Your body has to fuel your purpose. No broken vessel can carry our water. He's been a role model for me in that. You know, you can't run into a movement if you're running on empty. This is what I know about Ron Daniels. He doesn't chase proximity to power. He builds it, he nurtures it, he demands that it answers to our people. This is a different kind of leadership that we're often exposed to. It's discipline, it's love in action. It's not self-centered at all. So let me say this personally because it matters. In a world where too many people bend with the political wind, Ron Daniels has anchored principled, clear, unbought principles. Repeat that word, principles. 80 years is a blessing. I want to do 80 like him. Active, focused, brilliant. Ron, your life reminds us that the struggle is not a sprint, it's a relay. Happy 84th birthday, my dear friend. We honor you, we thank you, we're better off because you are in the struggle. I'll see you soon. Take care.
Greetings, this is Senator James Sanders Jr., and I'm speaking to my friend, Dr. Ron Daniels. So I'm glad that you finally hit 18, Dr. Daniels. It's just amazing how much living you have done. You've done enough living for a guy over 80, and here you are only 18. We are so blessed to know you, and our country, our nation, black folk have been so blessed to have you around. We look forward to working with you for your next 500 years. We look forward to you doing incredible things. I urge everybody, I know you may have given a donation, dig deep. It's for a good cause. Come up with even more money. fact, I'm going to follow my lead and I'm going to do the same. Again, I'm Senator James Sanders Jr. I'm chair of banking for New York State, and I had to stop and pay homage to the master of us all, the master of politics himself, Dr. Ron Daniels. Happy birthday, Brother Ron.
Grace and peace. My name is Nanba, also known as Robin Rue Simmons, and I'm grateful to add my voice to this celebration, this international holiday, in fact, for Global Africa, otherwise known as the 84th birthday of our beloved elder, Dr. Ron Daniels, who has so many titles, a long legacy of leadership and working towards liberation for our people. But in my short several years, he's played many roles in my life. In the role of the NARC convener, the president of the Black World, the inaugural elder co-convener of the Global Circle for Reparations and Healing, the co-creator of the First Repair National Resource Center, the co-convener of the National Symposium. Dr. Daniels, you have modeled leadership, Black excellence, family, fatherhood, what it is to be a husband, what it is to be in community with a movement, strategy. You have modeled grace, wisdom. You've been nurturing, Dr. Daniels. You've been so kind and generous with your time, always being available, just not receiving a no. And Dr. Daniels, I cannot thank you enough. And I'm confident that I speak on behalf of many hyper-local leaders like myself that are advancing reparations, many of us guided by the 10-point plan that is birthed under your leadership. Many of us guided by making sure that we are practicing reparations and not ordinary public policy. Excuse me. Dr. Daniels, I'm just so grateful for how you have supported me in the work that I lead in my own city, Evanston, Illinois, and at First Repair. In 2019, when we had passed the first phase of our reparations and were going to pass and begin into implementation, I knew for a fact that I didn't know enough to steward this work to the levels that we are seeing it today, the successes and the milestones that we're seeing. And Dr. Daniels, I want to thank you for making possible an embrace into the movement for reparations, all of the partnerships that came through you, all of the lessons and tools that came through you, the frameworks that came through you, the modeling of how to convene people and how to strengthen leadership and our collective impact. Dr. Daniels, I want to thank you for also being a friend and for being present in all that you do. So many folks have reached out to make sure that you know you are loved on this day. So I'm going to add my love, Dr. Daniels. I love you, I appreciate you, and I honor you on this day. Happy birthday and Harambe!
To dream the impossible dream, to fight the unbeatable foe, to bear with unbearable sorrow, to run where the brave dare not go, to right the rightable wrong, to love pure and chaste from afar, to triumph when your arms are too weary, to reach the unreachable star. This is my quest fight for the right without question or pause, to be willing to march into hell for that heavenly cause. And I know when I'll be true to that glorious quest, then my heart will lie peaceful and calm when I lay to my rest, my rest. And the world will be better for this than what man scorned, covered with scars, still strong with this last ounce of courage to reach the unreachable stars, to unreach the unreachable
And now we have Dr. George Fraser.
Thank you. Thank you. Reverend Kenneth Simon, honored guests, the one and only, the exceptional Ron Daniels. And you know what? I said to you earlier, I'm 81. I've been to about 12 of these in the last 8 months. And what's exceptional about this, Pastor, is the person that we're honoring is alive.
Yeah.
He's sitting right here, right now, and we're giving him his flowers. Oh, he has many more years to go, but he is with us. He has been a life changer for me. I will get into that in a moment. I want to scold him for a bit. He has given me 10 minutes to do a keynote address, and the last time I had 10 minutes to do a keynote address was the graduating class when I was in kindergarten and the keynote speaker. But I'm going to try and do it. I'm going to try and do it. I was timing all the speakers, because you have a timesheet, and 4 of them was shorter by 1 minute. So I'm going to take those 4 minutes and I'm going to add them to my remarks. Also, let's give the drummer some. Give the drummer some. And as we say, that sister can sing. She sang. Thank you very, very much. That was beautiful, beautiful, beautifully done. 84 years. I hope I get 84 years. I've gotten 81. I'm in pretty good shape. Ron's going to get another 6 to 10. I hope I get that. But what a body of work this gentleman has produced in his life. We are not honoring him because he did a thing. Anybody could do a thing. He has a body of work over 3 generations. And that's what we honor. He is about and for our people. He has been that from the day I met him over 30 years ago. Now, what's interesting about that is I'm from Brooklyn, New York, and moved to Cleveland. He's from Youngstown, Ohio, and moved to New York. We clicked. I wrote a book about that, clicking. You don't click with everybody that you network with. That's right. You click when three things are in perfect alignment: chemistry, fit, and timing. We could have good chemistry, good fit, bad timing, we won't click. We could have good timing, good chemistry, bad fit, we won't click. All three of those things, when I met Ron Daniels, day one, clicked. We are of the same ilk, of the same mindset, except I'm from Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, New York, and they say if you're from Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn, New York, you're either a thug or a gangster. I'm a gangster. I've had a little bit of influence on Ron, and he's sort of gangster too. You can tell by the work that he has done, and I'm honored to be here to speak with him, about him, and for him. Question: what asset that is worth $23.5 trillion that black people have right here, right now, that we are not effectively utilizing?
Right, sir.
$23.5 trillion it is valued at. We are not effectively utilizing our elders. That is the value of the 3.3 million black elders, male and female, in America. $23.5 trillion in human value, according to law. You want to know how many hours they represent in education, experience, and training? 2.3 trillion hours of experience and wisdom.
All right, sir.
There is no culture in humankind that rises to maximize their full human potential without eldership and honoring the elders and honoring family that will rise to maximize their potential. It is not possible. If you go to the continent, young people don't do anything without conferring to the elders. The same thing when I was in Hong Kong, China, they worship their elders. You don't make a move without conferring with your elders. The same thing in India. When I was in India, you don't make a move without referring or referencing or getting advice and counsel from your elders.
Yes, sir.
That is not a part of the African American Negro. In fact, we are the only Negroes. When I say Negro, I spell it capital N-E, capital G-R-O-W. Negro, please. We must incorporate eldership, understand the power of our elders into our culture. We all need, at some point in time, wise counsel.
That's right. That's right.
I've spent a significant part of my life getting wise counsel from an elder. I am who I am because of that.
That's right.
That needs to be a movement in our culture. I did a little piece on, I gave the logo to Dr. Daniels on what is the importance of eldership. Respect and restore respect for elders. To reestablish a culture where elders are valued, respected, and recognized as sources of wisdom and life experience. Now, you are officially an elder at 65 plus. Now, don't get it twisted. I'm from Brooklyn now. Not everybody that is old is wise.
Right.
What is an objective of eldership? To preserve generational knowledge, encourage intentional sharing of history lessons and traditions and cultural values between elders and younger generations. What is the purpose of eldership? To strengthen family and community bonds, create environments where elders remain actively involved in family decisions, mentorship, and community leadership. What is an objective of eldership? To promote intergenerational mentorship. That's what I got from Dr. Ron Daniels. Develop opportunities for elders to guide and mentor youth in life skills, character development, and cultural identity. We don't know who we are. We are the children of the slaves that would not die, that we have the genetic encoding of the great kings and queens of Africa, that we were building pyramids and solving complex engineering problems when other cultures were living in the Caucasus Mountains practicing cannibalism. That's who we are. What is the purpose of eldership? To rebuild cultural pride and identity, to reinforce the importance of heritage, resilience, and shared history by honoring those who lived and preserved it. That's the next big thing for us. I'm talking about the African American Negro, because this does not exist any place else in the world or in the diaspora except for right here. We are important, beautiful, and powerful people as manifested in a brother from Youngstown who went to New York, did good work in Youngstown, did great work in New York, and has mentored and guided and coached and masterclassed thousands of people in the many years that he has been blessed to live. Let me say that simply, and maybe you just remember this. Old lives matter.
Well, that's good.
Old lives matter. Elders matter. Now, what is the secret of aging so beautifully like Dr. Daniels? Or to be married? His wife isn't with us today. She wasn't feeling well. But if you've met her, an incredible human being, what does the Bible say the purpose of a woman is? To be a helpmate to the man. That's old school. My wife is old school. I've been married to Nora Jean Fraser, the same sister, for 52 years. People ask me all the time, Dr. Fraser, what's the secret to staying married to the same sister for 52 years? I said, well, it's a one-word answer, amnesia. Why? Because in 52 years, Dr. Fraser is going to do some dumb stuff. So is Dr. Daniels, and so is Miss Fraser, and so is Mrs. Daniels. We're going to do some dumb stuff. And when we do our dumb stuff, we come together like we have some sense, we have some emotional intelligence, we discuss it, and then we meet middle ground, and then we bless it and release it, never to bring that stuff up again. Unless you do it again. That's a different discussion. A good partner is the secret to living a long, fruitful, and productive life. My subject matter expertise is the power of the human connection, networking, if you want to call it that. And the most important decision you will make in your life, I promise you this, the most important decision you will make in your life will be your life partner. Mess that up 2, 3, 4 times and see what your life looks like. Dr. Daniels, you done good. You done very good, Dr. Daniels. You picked the right friends, the right partner. You grew up in the right town with the right influences, and that is really the summation of who, in fact, you are. I know I'm past my 10 minutes. It goes fast. To celebrate this moment, my moment with Dr. Daniels, I wrote a piece for him and I. I write books for a living. I've written 6 best-selling books. I'm not bragging, I'm just saying. One you might be familiar with is Success Runs Our Race, The Complete Guide to Effective Networking in the Black Community, of which I wrote 35 years ago. So Dr. Daniels, on our behalf, on your behalf, on my behalf, because we are one, we feel the same, we want the same. There's nothing I've done important in my life that this gentleman has not been included, and vice versa. So from Dr. Daniels and me, I say to you, my brothers and sisters, we challenge you today to love each other more, to support each other louder, and to demand excellence from yourselves and each other. Insist on fair representation in the economic opportunities that your tax dollars create. We deserve to share in the prosperity that we fund. Stand up, speak up, show up, because if we do not, no one else will do this for us. Let me say that a different way. Ain't nobody saving black people but black people. It's been 400 years and we ain't saved. Who are we waiting for? We're waiting for us, the Ron Daniels and his crew and his team and the people who spoke on his behalf. That's what we are waiting for. Let us commit today, my brothers and sisters, to build stronger, more resilient communities together. We are the architects of our own future. Dr. Daniels has said that many different ways on many different days. Because what you are not changing, you are choosing. Be focused. Be passionate. Build relationships. I talked about Click. 2 people asked me, did I bring any books? I bought a couple of copies of Click, so I don't know if you want to get a copy, it'll be available. I want to close with this remark to Brother Daniels. I apologize for being over in my time.
You're all right.
Dr. Daniels, I know that you love me, but I want you to know that I love you more, and there's nothing you can do about it. God bless you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Fraser, for your inspiring presentation. Next, we will have a family spokesperson in the presence of Sundiata, a Toure, who is Ron's son.
I'd like to say good afternoon and welcome to everyone. I want to begin by saying for my siblings, Jeanette Daniels and Malik Daniels, that we are immensely happy to wish our father, Dr. Ron Daniels, a happy 84th birthday. We wanted to take a moment to reflect on some of the moments from our childhood that stood out to each of us. My sister Jeanette wanted to say that we grew up watching our father fight for our rights as African Americans here in the United States and abroad, and fight for our place in history. We did so many things as children, like attending Kwanzaa and the African Cultural Weekend locally, which raised our awareness, and we were on the campaign trail with our father when he was working with Reverend Jesse Jackson which raised our awareness nationally. He taught me resilience is a way that he has fought for our people. He taught me to never give up despite what odds may be in your way. He continues to fight for our rights and for our place as African Americans in history. I will always be eternally grateful to my dad for that resilience. Happy birthday, Dad, from your baby girl. That's my sister, Jeanette Daniels. And for me, I want to again wish my father a happy 84th birthday. I appreciate the memories and experiences that we gain from our travels to various places. I am proud of the never-ending fight for the liberation of our people and his work in our neighborhood with my friends and myself, teaching us the importance of doing the right thing and being consciously aware of our struggles as young men. That's on part of, we had youth groups that he would gather a lot of the young guys in our neighborhood and bring us together. He would take us on trips personally. One of the members from that group was here in attendance today, which would be William Eldridge, AKA Buttons. And then from my brother Malik, said that he vividly remembers a speech that our dad gave prior to accepting his position at the Center for Constitutional Rights in New York City. During that speech, he talked about how tough his life was growing up in the Hill District of Pittsburgh and how he slept on box springs on the floor as a child, how he never had a true Thanksgiving. He never had a true Thanksgiving dinner because his mother was serving others, and that their dinner was the leftovers from that meal. He stated during that speech that it was at that time in his life, his journey to make sure that other children never lived that existence began. 84 years of life later, and so many triumphs on behalf of our people, the continued journey of Dr. Ron Daniels, grassroots organizer, is grounded in healing the pain, suffering by so many of our brothers and sisters here in the United States and around the world, and fighting for all that have lived or are living the same childhood or adult experience that he endured. Our father would take us on trips to Pittsburgh to show us where he grew up, and in his mind, I knew that he was saying to my brother, my sister, and me, that if I can make it out of the Hill District of Pittsburgh, there is nothing that you can't do in your own lives. Keep that fight alive, Doctor. There's a little boy in the Hill District of Pittsburgh that wishes you a happy birthday, and that little boy thanks you for all that you are doing and all that you have done to continue to fight for him. Happy birthday, your eldest son, Malik. I wanted to also mention my dad. There's another side. You know, he always taught us the importance of family. And, you know, I was going to say blended family, but he always said, you know, the idea of blended family doesn't exist. These are your brothers and sisters. There's no such thing as step or half, or you guys are brothers and sisters. So on that side of the family in New York, we have George France, which would be the oldest. We call him Junie. There would be Tracy. She's out of Maryland, correct? Yeah. And then Michelle and Kim, and then the youngest being Richie. They all would represent them as well. So those are my brothers and sisters out of New York. Thank you.
Thank you, Sundi. I just remember when you was a child and you have grown up to be a nice young man. Next, we'll have inspirational expressions by the Reverend Kenneth Simon.
Again, we extend our congratulations to Dr. Ron Daniels, dear brother and friend, worked tirelessly with my father and the Freedom Incorporated organization. I want to give this tribute to him, first from a friend who Brother Ron helped. He wanted me to read this. He submitted this letter, and I'm going to give that tribute first. To show the impact that Brother Ron has had on so many lives here in the greater Youngstown community. It says, to my esteemed friend, I never got to thank you along with Reverend Lonnie Simon, Attorney Ron Miller, and Amelia Carter for your in-depth letter to the Adult Parole Authority in Columbus, Ohio, to support my release. After I robbed a bank and then being in a shootout with Youngstown police, I was branded a cop hater. There was no truth to that theory of me hating the police. However, I had to live the circumstances that stigma brought on. Prior to the incident, I had never been in any trouble before. My parents hired a crooked judge, we won't mention his name, who had just gotten off of the bench as my attorney. With him as my legal representation, I received the most time they could give me on my charges, 12 to 35 years. None of my counts were ran concurrently. They were all to be served consecutively. After serving 7 years and 8 months, your letter, along with the above dear friends, led to my release. I'm writing this letter to thank you, Dr. Ron Daniels. I've been following your accomplishment over the years in New York, and especially your efforts down in Haiti. May Jehovah bless you and your fight for freedom for all. Agape love. Read the name. Agape love from a friend. Give God praise for it. God Daniels. I have my own reflections to give concerning Dr. Ron before I do the selection he requested. Again, as a youngster, I grew up in this movement. My dad was an integral part of the movement here in the city of Youngstown. Everyone knew Reverend Lonnie Kwadwo Asim Simon. He served as pastor of this church for 33 and a half years. But he was a leader in this community. He was the one that led New Bethel to be a community church, a community-minded church. He marched with Dr. King. He was a fierce advocate for social justice and civil rights here in the city of Youngstown. I can never forget the time as he championed causes and fought for the rights of people that he and I think Ralph Clark were arrested. They were taken to jail after they were assigned by the Board of Education to be at the football game to help disperse help deal with some of the trouble they were having there with fights in the games, and police falsely arrested them when they were trying to break up a fight. And Father led protests. He protested, vindicated police department. We received threats at our house, phone calls, day in and day out. Threats, death threats to my father, my family. I remember my mother. I remember her crying night after night, pleading with my father to kind of back away from the movement, and he was committed to this cause. And then I remember the night, about 3 o'clock in the morning, back in 1972, when they bombed our house. We knew there was smoke in the house, so we just went down the basement to see what we thought the furnace may have blew up or something. And here it was. They had bombed the vehicle outside, and it blew up part of the house. And then there was Ron Daniels and Freedom Incorporated, who sent men to our house every night for months. They guarded the doors and the window, one in the front, one in the back, with rifles, because they were not going to let anyone harm our leaders in this city. I can never thank you enough for how you led those charges that protected our family, protected my dad. You're just very instrumental in the movement here in the city of Youngstown. And it's been a long journey. I owe who I am and what I do to men like Ron Daniels, Clarence Barnes, my father, Reverend Lonnie Simon, Arlette Gatewood. And every time we lose one of those soldiers, it just it does something to me on the inside. When Reverend Jesse Jackson passed, it just did something, because we're losing these fighter for the rights of our people and these activists, and we just don't seem to be producing more. But this is so appropriate to honor this man while he's still living. Because he has truly been instrumental in my life. He doesn't even know how many ways he has. But him, men like Ron Miller, those are the ones who nurtured me and mentored me to become the civil rights activist I am on today. And so I'm honored to be a part of this celebration today. And I do this selection at the request of Ron Daniels, Dr. Ron Daniels. He doesn't know it, but when everybody asks me to sing this song, I always go, but for him, no problem. Brother Ron, I've had some good days. I've had some hills to climb. Oh, I've had some weary days and some sleepless nights. But when I look around, hey,
think things over. All of my good days outweigh my bad days, and I won't complain. Sometimes the clouds hang low, I can hardly see the road. No, I've asked the question, Lord, Lord, why so much pain? But He knows, He knows, He knows what's best for me. Though my weary eyes, they cannot see. So I'll say, thank you, Lord. And I won't complain. For God has been so good to me. He's been so good to me. More than you or this whole world could ever be. He's been good. I said He's been good to me. Dries every one of my tears away. Turn my midnight into day. So I'll say thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. I won't complain, 'cause God has been so good to me. Do I have a witness in the house today? He's been so good to me. More than you or this whole world could ever be. He's been good. I said He's been good. In spite of what we're going through, He's been good. So good to me. He dries. The Lord will dry every one of your tears away. Turn your midnight into day. So I'll say thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. I've been lied on, but thank you, Lord. I've been talked about, but thank you, Lord. I've been sick, doctor said I couldn't get well, but thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Won't you help me say thank you, Lord? Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. I won't complain. Hallelujah. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah.
Let's hear it for our pastor. Let's give it up. How y'all feeling out there? How y'all feeling out there? All right, I won't complain. Well, first and foremost, let me thank y'all for being patient, for coming and listening. I must confess that when we talked about doing this program, I reached out to Pastor Simon. I said, well, I don't know how many people, the saints keep going on. So I said, I don't know how many of my generation are even still around. So I don't know what it's going to look like, right? But we're so honored that you came. That you came. And we appreciate it, and we appreciate your patience. And I ask you to bear with me because there's a reason why I come back to Youngstown. And that's what I want to sort of talk to you about now. And I'm going to need your help. I've been crying a lot these days. And let me tell you something. Not a single of those tears have been tears of sadness. They've all been tears of joy. You heard my son talk about Pittsburgh taking that pilgrimage to 6 Shipton Street in that rat-infested, roach-infested hellhole of a slum in August Wilson's Pittsburgh, where I looked up in the sky one night and said, human beings are not to live like this. And really pledged that evening that somehow I would devote my life to making life better for others. Didn't realize then that that was kind of a sacred calling, if you will. And we've come a long way from that tenement on 6 Shipton Street to where I stand today. So my tears are always of joy, always of blessings, because I have lived a blessed life, and the Lord ain't finished with me yet. So now we ain't finished the course. And I'm here, and I ask myself, why is it that I am still alive I tell the young people, I said I'm 38 going on 48. And they have difficulty keeping up. His brother Louis over there will attest, and he was supposed to bring in one of our staffers, Paul Ann Patterson, who's looking at a young, brilliant sister from Grenada, the other next generation coming on. And I tell them, and y'all out there know what I'm saying. They don't understand. I say, I'm on Geritol. I say, I take double doses of Geritol. That's what keeps me rolling. That keeps me functioning and moving. So first and foremost, I want to thank Reverend Kenneth Simon and New Bethel Baptist Church for hosting us today. Let's give them a big round of applause. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. His father, Quadjo. Lord, what a relationship. What a relationship with a human being. Providential that we came together at a certain critical point in time in the long history. There was a book by, blanking on his name, it's called There Is a River. It'll come to me in a moment. Talks about the ebb and flow of our history from the beginning of time, that it runs into a rock and it goes around and over hills, but there's a river that flows. And there are moments when it explodes and it grows and develops. And so Quadjo, Republican. You see, understand there was a time when Republicans were not like the crazy MAGA Republicans we have now. Jackie Robinson was a Republican. There was a time when the Republican Party was the Republican Party of Abraham Lincoln, if you will. Not as the moral monstrosity that occupies the White House now. And so he's willing to come together. And there were many others like him, but it was his leadership. Having gone to Chicago to meet a man named C.T. Vivian. C.T. Vivian, he had the immersion in this organization that he created to have him live among the poor.
That's right.
You would have thought that a minister with the Micah mandate would not have had to have that immersion, if you will. If you understand what I'm saying. If you understand the Micah mandate.
That's right.
And yet he had that immersion to understand how poor people lived. Urban Center for Christian Mission in Chicago.
That's right.
He was already on an anointed path, but he came back a transformed human being.
Yes, he did.
For such a time as this, because the nation was exploding in a new era. The streets had exploded.
That's right.
The oppression that our people had suffered from generation to generation exploded. Something called Black Power erupted. Scared a whole lot of people. What is this Black Power? What does it mean? How is it different than what we've already been doing? And is it going to scare white folks? Is it going to scare black folks? How are we going to deal with it? He understood it.
That's right. That's right.
Because it coincided with this young brother coming out of the Hill District of Pittsburgh and then out of 708 Park Avenue on the north side, returning home to start a new organization. Forever thankful to Quadro, Reverend Lonnie L. Simon.
Yeah.
George Fraser could have been anywhere today. You heard him. It's George Fraser. He has received not one, but 2 presidential medals of honor. When he speaks, it's 15 grand. I'll just tell you, it's 25 grand. I mean, he don't, you understand what I'm saying? He ain't got to be here. One of the greatest leaders we have among us. And the reason why he is so great and why it's important to listen to him, because as one of my dear friends, Dr. James Turner, Cornell University, one of the people who came and rescued me, and when I was out on the battlefield and working, this sort of brought me in, he once said, we have a whole lot of people who are of the race. For the race. We need people who are for the race. There's a distinction. A whole lot of people are just black, cosmetically black. The question is, are you for the race? Because if you're for the race, that's an entirely different proposition that we're dealing with. So let's give it up again for George Fraser. I want to say also, before I forget, there's so many people to thank, and that's largely what I'm here to do today, and I'll lay out my stuff thematically and try to get through this, because there's so much to be said and so much, I'm just so full. But you cannot leave out Clarence Barnes. Cannot forget this leader from the Urban League. It's interesting, tomorrow is my actual birthday is tomorrow, it's on a Sunday. And so I love to fish. One of my great hobbies is fishing and gardening. So I want to see take my grandson tomorrow fishing. It's too cold probably. But Clarence Barnes loved to fish. And Clarence Barnes, he didn't care how cold it was. And Clarence Barnes, and I go out there and fish with him, and he would try to get, they wouldn't be biting today. I said, if they ain't biting, let's go home. No, he gonna hang in there. But beyond that, Clarence Barnes is one of the greatest human beings I've ever met.
That's right.
See, a whole lot of people carry their Christianity on the sleeve. You got every 15 minutes, you can praise God, this and that and so forth and everything. God is everywhere, and then he is. But there's some people who live it. Ain't got to say nothing. Their life is a testimony, a living testimony. Clarence Barnes, one of the greatest human beings I've ever met.
That's right.
He lived it. And when there was an attack on the Native Son bookstore, a director of the Urban League, they're supposed to be moderate, not so revolutionary, whatever, and so forth and so on. Some people came by the bookstore and they shot into the bookstore. And we didn't know whether they would be coming back again. So we were kind of, you know, like interested in just seeing. So we had the Bible in one hand, but we also had a little something else in the other one. And we were sitting there. And guess who was sitting there with us? Ready to throw down if necessary. Clarence Barnes. So I always have to mention his name. So now y'all bear with me for a minute now, because the question is, 84 years old. Why 84? Because you know, you usually serve with what? The 5, 85, or 80. What you think, bro? What you doing at 84? Why are you coming up with an 84 birthday? Then why Youngstown? Why not just, you know, I mean, could do it in New York, could do it. We did one at the Schomburg Center, and, you know, you remember that, George? You came, and you know, 2,500 people there. I mean, you know, so why Youngstown? So I have to answer both of those questions, and I ask your forbearance as I answer those questions. 84. Well, 84 has to do with my relationship with one of the greatest leaders of all time. One of the greatest leaders that America has ever seen. An authentic genius in the person of Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson. 84 because of the work we did here in Youngstown. And if you want to go to the internet, you'll see the tribute that I laid out to him. It's called Rise, Jesse, Rise. You remember, those of you who saw the private funeral, you saw Jonathan Jackson get up, and by the time he got finished, you could have did the benediction, because he said, Rise, Jesse, rise. And so I took that thing, Rise, Jesse, rise, and I said a tribute and testimonial to an authentic genius, because Reverend Jesse Jackson was just that. We used to talk about it, we used to tease about it. He was an authentic genius. He came to Youngstown because of the work that we had built up over the years. I knew him before he was running for president. But there was something about Youngstown. He knew and loved Quadro, Reverend Lonnie Simon. He loved Bishop Wagner, Pentecostal church right up the street, Mount Calvary, Bishop Norman L. He loved him. And when he would come here, he would grab me and help me to orchestrate the different activities and so forth. But he returned here based on the work that he did with Freedom Incorporated and beyond, to ask me to serve as executive director of the Rainbow Coalition and to be deputy campaign manager for his 1984 presidential run. I mean, and one of the things I want people to understand is Youngstown. Youngstown. I mean, it's not often that someone can be at the highest level of presidential politics, and I was tapped to do that. And as I say in my tribute to him, I understood who he is. I know who he was, one of the most brilliant minds that you'll ever encounter. But I was not mesmerized by him. Because very often when you get people who are gophers, and I don't say that negatively, you're so smart and bright, people just want to they just want to hang with you, they just want to be with you. But they don't offer critical thought or debate or discussion. That was not what our relationship was about. He and I would chop it up and have discussions about things. And I helped him to make some of the most critical decisions that he made in terms of his presidential run. And we were like close. When I would go to Chicago, I didn't stay at a hotel. I stayed in the house. I had a room with all the families. I know them all. Jonathan Jackson today, in fact, he calls me Uncle Ron. That's how well I know and love that family. His birthday is October 8th. Bear with me now. October 8th is his birthday. And usually I would send him a card, I'd give him a call or whatever. But something inside of me said this year, this October 8th, Ron, go to Chicago. I had been going back and forth, actually, because I also was interested in how to keep the rainbow alive and to help it grow and develop and to figure out, how it could sustain itself, because I love that organization. And it was not just personal in terms of the configuration of organizations in this country. It was important to see the Rainbow Coalition stay alive and grow and develop. So I was going back and forth. In fact, when I would go back and forth, sometimes I would be in the car, the secretary would call me and say, Brother Ron, can you come back? Reverend Jackson wants to talk to you. And I couldn't because I'd be on my way out. Sometimes he would tell them, reach out and call Ron Daniels. I need to talk to him. And even though in this diminished physical state, because his mind was as clear, as sharp as ever, sometimes I'd have to have somebody interpret because he couldn't speak. It was like, you can remember how Muhammad Ali was, he couldn't, but he would interpret, and we would talk about ideas, and he was clear about what needed to be done. So on this occasion, I went on to Chicago. And I was with him. He had just gotten out of the hospital because he was having some bouts with COVID and different things and whatever, but he was doing fine. Didn't feel like going to the headquarters that day, but it was at his bedside. And little Jackie, now Dr. Jacqueline Jackson, was his primary caregiver, and she took me over and I sat with him and held his hand and we talked, and I got ready to leave. He pulled me back again, and then I left, and he called me 3 times. 3 times. She said, Dr. Daniels, Reverend just wants to hear your voice one more time. And so I did. And I came home and I discussed it with my wife, Mary Frances Daniels, and she said, the next time you go to Chicago, I want to go with you. But unfortunately, he passed away before that could happen. And so there was something about 84, because I used to always tease him and say, in April, I catch up with you. We're the same age. I catch up with you in April. So a couple of years ago, right here at this church, a small group of us gathered on my 82nd birthday, and people came together. We had a nice little time, and it was fun and so forth. I was about to do the same thing again and just do it, just come and do that. But something said to me, no, you can't do that. There's something you must do differently this year. This year, because of your relationship with Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson, and because of Youngstown, and because of what Youngstown means to you, it can't be private this time. It's got to be public. The world has got to know. The world has got to see. This is being streamed right now. You're here, but people are watching all over the country right now. And I'm here because I want them to know what Youngstown means to me and what Youngstown has contributed to me. And to also honor Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson. And so on this occasion, birthdays come and go. They don't really mean a lot for me. I use them because I am at base not some vulgar political person. I just believe that using what you have to encourage people to do something with a birthday, that's what matters to me. So I say, why not 84 for 84? If it's 84 years old, let's raise $84,000 on this day and the subsequent days. And after the last election that went down, we saw some interesting things happen. A lot of people, you heard the stories, oh, the parties don't make no, I don't know why I ain't voting, don't make no sense of voting, ain't nothing gonna change anyhow, all that kind of stuff. And it gave us this monstrosity. I don't blame anybody. I love eternally, my people. Whenever something like that happens, it challenges me. How can I do better? How can I work harder? And so we created something called a Political Literacy and Civic Engagement Initiative in the Institute of the Black World 21st Century. So I said, on this day and subsequent days, let us raise $84,000 for that initiative so that we'll be about the business of helping to get black people to get up and understand how powerful we are and how the destiny of America and to some degree the world is in our hands. So that's why 84. And then why Youngstown? Because as I said before, Youngstown is a return to the source. There are two cities. If one sort of took a look at the book, some of you have copies of this book, it took years to write. I talk about Pittsburgh, I just mentioned that, but I also talk about Youngstown. Youngstown is the base. Because it was in Pittsburgh that I think there was a calling. But it was in Youngstown that we found the fulfilling of that mission, if you will. And so I have to also thank my father, who's no longer, he's an ancestor, William Bill Daniel, right? 708 Park Avenue, Daniel's Grocery and Confection. Central place over there on the north side, if you will. And then there was Walter Marie Daniels, my mother. My father, very interestingly, never had an fourth grade education. My mother, 11th grade education, but a brilliant woman. Coal miner and coal miner's daughter, married, but unfortunately just, George said click, they didn't quite click. Age was a part of it. But nonetheless, both of them in their own ways contributed to who I am today. And so I have to honor both William Daniel and my mother, Walter Marie Daniels. And as I think about the people that need to be thanked, I also, in this city, think about those mothers back in the day when I had to leave. My mother was in Pittsburgh, and she tried to raise us and do what she did to bring us along, and it didn't quite work out. In fact, she was a heavy, hefty woman, and she lost 100 pounds. Nervous breakdown. Had this two biological sons and two by my adopted father, if you will, and so she just had to figure out what to do. So she took biological the adopted kids went to Indianapolis, and we came back to Youngstown to be with my father. But in that transformation, we brought from Pittsburgh, that place that I talked about, a lot of experiences, including the Cadet Corps and learning a lot. In fact, really just interesting enough, just the biblical experience, baptized in Ebenezer Baptist Church. 12 years old, youngest delegate to go to in BYPU. Institutions that are there, and Rick knows this. Some of those buildings are still there that helped to nourish someone who was really under serious stress and strain. But the positive sides we brought here to Youngstown. And we built an organization called the Cadet Corps. But we didn't build it. And the point is, my life is a life that we need to look to in terms of others, in terms of how we act today. Because in Youngstown, in Pittsburgh, in those days, there were no motherless children, no fatherless children. Everybody looked after everyone's children. And so we had to produce this Cadet Corps. Here is William Daniel. He's trying to do the best he can. I have a sister named Wileen. She's supposed to be my so-called stepsister. Never considered her that because I don't like that step stuff. You're a sister by virtue of your relationship. She's trying to help raise us. But what really counted as much as anything were those cadet mothers. As we built this organization at 10, 11, 13 years old, here are mothers in the community who are teaching us how to do bake sales and chicken dinners and fish fries and go out and sell those and raise money for ourselves and to build an organization. Because somehow this young kid coming out of Pittsburgh was helping to organize this Cadet Corps, this organization. At 11, 12, 13, 14 years old, people said, who is this young dude? There's something about him. There's something there that he may even be president one day. But that genius was that germ was being nurtured by parents like you in the community who put their arms around us and taught us to be something. But for that, we would have been lost. I would have been lost. A lot of pain from that separation. Going to school. I remember my father, he's doing the best he could. Sometimes I get an F, and I take that report card, and I take that F, and I'd loop it in, and he think it was a B. He didn't know any better. But the good thing about it was, and let me just say this quickly too, that because today we find the same circumstances, we have a lot of young people who are lost. In Pittsburgh, there were teachers, even right here. I remember Covington School, Miss Richardson, I remember. I mean, people who just grabbed you and fed you and gave you something. They weren't all black. I remember a number of white teachers. Elementary school in McKelvey, Rick Adams, his name was Mr. Bohr. Over a half a century now, I know him. He saw the difficulty. He saw what we were going through. He saw the pain and anguish. He understood discrimination. And I remember him saying to me and others, he said, it's going to be better one of these days. It's not always going to be like this. And he tried to figure out, well, what can I do to get a spark and find out? So what he did was he taught me how to make Mexican serapes. He tapped into something that at least gave me a sense of self-esteem. Because if you understand anything about psychology, we all need to be affirmed. Same thing in Hillman. I mean, not Hillman, our junior high school up on the north side, Hayes. Teacher up there just took time to help me understand a number of things. And at those days, I never understood that we were going to Hayes, Rutherford B. Hayes. One of the greatest tragedies in the history of the United States of America is on that president's name. I won't tell you that story today, but check it out. But anyway, let me move forward. So these mentors are an important part of coming back to this place. Tabernacle Baptist Church. Can never forget Tabernacle Baptist Church. Because there too, there were people like Reverend Lawson Booker, who worked in the steel mills. And you know, he couldn't speak proper English, but what do you say, cracking verbs and this and that, so forth and so on, but he would teach Sunday school. And he would ask us to come and do the Sunday school lesson and review them and whatnot. And here's the shaky, nervous Ron Daniels, and he would just keep encouraging us. So how can I not come back when someone like Reverend Lawson Booker gave me the sense of having the confidence, because standing before the class and encouraging me to review the Sunday school lesson put me in a position where I can go to Grenada and speak to 25,000 people. I trace that directly to the kind of edification I got from that experience. Coming back to the source for those reasons. And then you look at people, not only the Junior Usher Club and people like that, but also people within the community. In fact, we have to thank today. We know one thing, there's no reason. People knew this was happening because it was on the radio, right? Percy Squire, right? Y'all know Percy Squire? All right, well, we have to thank Percy Squire. We have to thank, you know, the folks over on the drum. They were beating it out. But every time I talk to him about his mother, Florence Squire. I talk about Mildred Payne. I talk about people like Clarabelle McDuffie. Why do I talk to them about them? Because once we began to do something like Freedom Incorporated, we had to prove to them that we were worthy, that we weren't just some fly-by-night group. And the beauty of it was we earned their trust. And once we earned their trust, they were solid supporters of the work that we were doing with Freedom Incorporated. How can I not come and not raise the name of Ralph Clark or Nathaniel Lee or Alice Lev and the nosy neighbors on Park Avenue? looking and seeing what we're doing, checking us out, making sure we couldn't do it. In my block was Mr. Terry, the Terry family. They looking at me, said, we couldn't get away with nothing because of nosy neighbors. But not only nosy neighbors, there were others who just wanted to contribute to us and make us. Preston Wilcox, one of the great leaders. Some people don't even know how great Preston Wilcox from Youngstown, Ohio. His family was in the next block, if you will. Those people contributed to who I be today. So I come back to the source, Ralph Clark. Man, what a brother Ralph Clark was, right? And so after having been nourished here and going off to school and being brought up in the NAACP right here, we circled back in the era of Black Power, came back to put together an organization called Freedom Incorporated. And Freedom Incorporated was founded by 12 men, 12 men. Wendell Atkinson was among them. Robert Christian, Hank Williams. Well, maybe y'all don't remember who they were. Wendell Atkinson was my best friend. Atkinson friend on the North Side Action Center at the time of the poverty, the war on poverty. Those centers developed, you remember, right? North Side Action Center, Wendell Atkinson. South Side Action Center, Reverend now Robert Christian. East Side Action Center, Hank Williams. Collie Burton was also in the mix. Brother from Jamaica called Calvin Nathan. Bob Thornton, the husband of Gina Thornton. Special human being. Our prayers go out. We call him Mr. Bob. E. Thaxton King, Alvin Hopkins, Raymond Yancey, Robert Beal, I understand, is in the back right now. And the importance about these brothers, Robert Beal, Raymond Yancey, Richard Atkinson, and O'Day Aduma was a secret member. He was like, he didn't want to be, because he was on television. So he was a quiet member of the crew, right? But when I talk about Robert Beal and I talk about Richard Atkinson and Raymond Yancey, we were together in elementary school in Covington. That's how far and how deep that relationship goes. So through the Cadet Corps and then into the NAACP and then into Freedom Incorporated, I returned to the source because of brothers and sisters like that. And then there was an outlier named Mercedes King. She was the outlier when we laid out and we started to do. And let me just say this quickly, because here's the beauty of it all. When we hit the scene, it was electrifying. The press wanted to know, who are y'all? How many members do you have? What's the scope? And we wouldn't say anything. They didn't know how many it was. It was 12 of us, just 12 of us. 12, something interesting about 12. 12 of us. And we were running them raggedy in terms of the strategies that we were building. They didn't know what to do. They didn't know what hit them in terms of this new force on the scene called Freedom Incorporated. But here's the most important part of it. There were a lot of organizations who came along like us. They were radical, they were revolutionary, they were all those things. But they didn't have the base that we had. They didn't have the base that we had because they didn't have the reach that we had. They didn't have the reach that they had because they were outside of the church. I, for one, am a believer. I was inside of the church and indeed believed in the church and also understood that anybody who wants to be successful organizing our people has to, in fact, depend on the church. Because the black church has been the foundation of the black freedom struggle from the days of Richard Allen and Absalom Jones. So 12 men moved forward to help move and develop this organization called Freedom Incorporated with a vision to help transform Youngstown and indeed the world. Later on, we created something called the Martin Luther King Sisters. And I want y'all to remember another name. The name of Dolores Smith. Oh, yes, Dolores Smith. She had a group called the Old Naturals. Because that's back in the days, you know, of, the Jerry curls and, frying your hair and all this kind of stuff. And she was, we were trying to persuade people that you could be natural hair and you could be beautiful. And Dolores Smith was a part of an allied organization that helped to make that happen. So we have to embrace. So I return to the source for that reason too, to say that these are the people who help contribute to who we are and what we have become in terms of the work that we do today. And I'd have to say, I also have to thank my former wife, my first wife, Mary Jane Daniels. Why? It's not easy, and I want you to hear me on this. It is not easy when you come together on one circumstance, and then all of a sudden the circumstances change. You know what I mean? The Black Power emerged, and all of a sudden this brother who was in the NAACP, and now all of a sudden he's wearing dashikis and talking African names. How do I process that? You know what I mean? We would go to the Cinderella ball, that big stuff. You're supposed to get dressed up and so forth. I'm showing up in a dashiki. You know what I mean? I mean that, you know what I mean? And then your friends say, hey, what's with that dude? What's up with that? But even more important is the danger. Hear me, the danger and the threats. You're married to somebody who's under threat. The whole family's under threat. Yeah. There were times when I was on WYTV when the brothers from Freedom Incorporated would come and they'd have to take me home because they were fearful that somebody would gun me down as I came out of the studio. When I came up and down my driveway, there were times when I thought about Medgar Evers being shotgunned down in his driveway in Mississippi. There was a time, and you may have forgotten, I haven't, there was a woman named Vivian Martin. We took a threat. It was so dangerous, it was so scary that we had to go stay with her for a week in a home because of the danger that we were under. And she had the courage and the guts to keep us underground until the danger subsided. So I returned to the source for those reasons. Now I'm going to close by reading and citing a pledge that I wrote many, many years ago. It says 1970. It is called A Pledge to African People. And I want them to, some of y'all remember that. Some of y'all purchased copies of that pledge. You can take it down now. Because I want to talk about what we tried to do quickly as I bring this to a conclusion. The first line of that pledge says that we are an African people. Right. That was a revolutionary thing to say back in the day, George. Because we were Negroes. We were Negroes. Colored people. Scared to be black. And we had the audacity to say, no, we are an African people. How is it that I lived on Park Avenue, had to walk by Price AME Zion Church and never understood and knew what the AME stood for because nobody ever taught us that it meant African Methodist Episcopal. Because we were ashamed of who we were. We came upon the scene to say we should not be ashamed of who we are. We're an African people with a proud history. We are the creators of humankind, not arrogantly. It's just it happens to be a fact that all of humankind comes out of the womb of one African woman. We are all sisters and brothers for that reason. It's just that some other people choose not to respect that fact. But we did that here in Youngstown, Ohio. And we did it with the African Culture Weekend, among others. Right. Oh, I mean, think about, I mean, y'all don't understand what y'all did. There was nothing like the African Cultural Weekend in the United States of America. We'd have an evening in black. That was the hardest part, getting people to come out for that part sometimes, but we had it every year. And somebody cited, you had the creator of Kwanzaa, Dr. Maulana Karinga came here. Hakeem Adabuti, Sonia Sanchez. All of them came through. Emiri Baraka, all of them came through for the evening in black. And then we had the Unity Parade. See, y'all didn't forget how that started, right? The Unity Parade, we wanted to bring all the different sides together so we wouldn't be fighting with each other. So we'd have a unit starting on the north side. We'd have a unit starting on the east side. We have a unit starting on the south side. The units would what? Weave through the neighborhoods, and then they would all come together in downtown Youngstown. They had never seen anything like that. Never saw anything like that. And then we'd have what? We'd have the drill off, right? We'd have the competition between the drum and bugle corps and the drill teams. And at one year, I remember the Vindicator reported there were 11,000 people who were there for the African Cultural Weekend. And then on Sunday, to wrap it up, we had the Community Soul Picnic. I forgot the name of the club. It keeps coming. I can't remember the name of the club, but they did the wild game dinners, that kind of stuff. The Sportsman Club, right. We go out to the Sportsman Club, and you know, and the kids would have games and all. I mean, we have that was what, and again, people came here, just a couple. Theo Ben Gurion became the foreign minister of Namibia. He came here. Tapsa Morial became one of the leaders of now what became Zimbabwe. We had ambassadors come. They all came right here to Youngstown, Ohio. We could not have done it, however, if y'all didn't show up. We could not have done it if the people did not support it. In this community, we could go to Goldie's Flower Shop. We could go to J.B. Williams. We had relationships. We could go to James Collins, one of the most brilliant businessmen we produced in this country, and they supported us. Most revolutionary so-called organizations did not have those kinds of relationships. That is what characterized the uniqueness, our ability to reach across the spectrum to touch all kinds of folks. And indeed, I reminded people that some people never knew it. There was times when you talked about stealing away, we would sneak off into the woods. Freedom Incorporated would convene the top leadership in this community, the Board of Education, the city council people, all of them by this radical revolutionary organization that did not carry those words on our sleeves. We didn't run around talking about how revolutionary. We lived it. The values count, not what we called it. Right here in Youngstown, Ohio. We are an African people. We remember the humanity, glory, and sufferings of our ancestors. And George Fraser talked about it, and honor the struggle of our elders. We must have identity. The identity is a key question in terms of, Karinga said, culture is a key crisis in black life. And by the way, when you talk about the whole question of who we are, let us not forget someone. If you don't know, you should know. If you don't know, now you will know. Queen Mother Audley Moore. Who is the architect of the modern reparations movement, Queen Mother Moore. We didn't know what reparations was, didn't know what it meant, but except for Queen Mother Moore saying you have to get your reparations. When people damage you, you are entitled to compensation. We brought her right here to Youngstown, Ohio. It was controversial because we went out on the Allen's farm and all over the newspapers they're saying, what is going on? There are hundreds of young people out there on the farm with this woman, Queen Mother Moore. But she was the modern architect. We have to raise her name. It says here, we will strive to bring new values and new life to our people. We'll have peace and harmony among us. We will be loving, sharing, and creative. We will work, study, listen, and learn so we may teach. And that line becomes important because my education, Dr. Ron Daniels, don't mean nothing. It means nothing. My education is the collective education of all those nosy neighbors and all of you who contributed to making my education. I owe my education to you. That is the spirit in which we must, in fact, have our people get their education, fight for. I mean, one of the problems we have is people don't even know the bridges they came open. They have jobs now that they never had before in their life. Why? Because somebody fought for those jobs. Fannie Lou Hamer said, always know where we came from and honor the bridges that brought us over. We must go back and reteach them. You would not be there except for the blood shed by your ancestors and people who helped make you who you are. Now, not everybody has to be like crazy like Ron Daniels, but give something. Be of the race and for the race. Wherever you are, you have an obligation. Each one bring one. Each one teach one. Help to build and bring people across that bridge. We will cultivate self-reliance. That's why we tried to do the stores. That's why we try to do it, because economic development, George Fraser just talked about it. We tend to pay for what we want and beg for what we need. We have that trillions of dollars in our hands. We have that economic Martin Luther King showed us. We also showed them at Ralph's Supermarket. Some of y'all forgot that. They weren't hiring black people at Ralph's Supermarket. 98% of the business is black. Ralph is sitting up there with a sparkle market. Only has some security guards, only one of them. Why should we shop somewhere that doesn't hire us? Fundamental. And so what we did was we launched economic sanctions against them. And it wasn't easy because our people are wounded people. We are deeply, deeply, deeply wounded because of what has happened to us throughout the history of our country. But that doesn't matter to me. I have an undying love for my people because I know what we've gone through. So we'd be out in the picket line now. Hey, I'm a strategist. I knew we weren't going to go out there and say, we're going to picket y'all every day, because that ain't happening. So we said, we're coming to hit you on the weekend, because we knew we'd get enough people on the weekend to come out. So we get there, and people say, hi, Ron, but the pork chops in there are the best pork chops in the world. And by the way, the greens in there, we get all kind of reasons why you had to go past. They would go, and they was embarrassed, but they would go by. But we kept educating, Ralph filed a $250,000 lawsuit against us. And he came out and he laughed at us. Ron Daniels, you on television and all that. We thought we was in trouble, but you don't understand. He basically saying, I got these Negroes. I told him, I said, well, is Thanksgiving coming? Is Christmas coming? He didn't know what I was saying. He didn't understand that when you do a boycott, you don't have to stop everybody. If you have a grocery store, you only need to shave what? Just a little bit off the margins. So when Christmas came and Thanksgiving came, enough people had stopped shopping at Ralph's Market, then he came out and said, can we sit down and have some negotiations? He dropped the lawsuit and he hired 11 people were hired at Ralph's Supermarket, which says we have the power in our hands. If we wanted to use that power, and we still need to do that today. We must struggle to resurrect and unify our homeland. Won't spend much time on that, but Africa is the base. Africa is the richest continent on the face of the earth. There's no reason why anybody in Africa or anywhere, anybody ought to be poor, except we have to have our right minds. We say we must raise many children for our nation. We're not saying that everybody ought to have more children. That's not the point. The point is there should be no motherless children and no fatherless children. We extend ourselves to make sure, like we used to do in the old days, figure out how we can in fact do that, to make sure that all of our children are safe, particularly in an environment now where there's so much danger, so much damage, and where we cry and plead because so many of our kids are turning on each other and killing each other and innocently. It is one of the great pains that we have as a people. We got to heal the wound. And by the way, that healing is not just that's a healing that has been brought down on us by the war on drugs, has been brought down on us by what we see right here, the disinvestment in our community, the taking away of jobs. So when we go back to, as we move in the spirit ahead, we have to move with a bold program for economic development to reinvest in these black communities. It's not rocket science. If you have a job, you ain't likely to go out there and be cutting up and acting up if you got a job with good pay and good wages. We say that we will have discipline, patience, devotion, and courage, that we will be models to provide new directions for our people, because we say we are an African people. We'll be free and self-determining. And it closes by saying, and we will win. Well, we've been here a while, and I appreciate you having the patience to listen to this son of Youngstown who has returned to the source. I'm in the process now of organizing a major delegation to Cuba. The next president of Uganda, who is denied being elected because of the corruption, because we're not a perfect people. There's a lot of corruption going on the continent. There's a lot of corruption going on right here among us as African people. In fact, one of the great tragedies is we did not fight to replace white faces with black faces to do the same old oppressive nonsense. That's not what we fought for. But on the continent, we have some people who seem to don't understand that. So what we do with our little resources is we point to those countries where they're trying to have leadership that's trying to be true to the vision of using the resources of Africa in the way that our ancestors did on the continent, where you shared resources. Everything belonged to everyone. That's what the Nguzu Saba's about. Ujima, collective working responsibility. Ujamaa, cooperative economics. Not me, myself, and I. It's we, us, and our. We've got some people on the continent, all they're interested in doing is being presidents for life and gobbling up all for themselves and all that. Well, that ain't going to work. We have to separate the chief, to separate it out. And so there's some people. One of them is a young man named Bobby Wine, a young brother, who's going to be the next president of Uganda. And he's somebody that we're working directly with, a new young president in Senegal. And in Grenada, a new young prime minister. And of course, as was alluded to, we helped to take Grenada to another level in terms of Malcolm X's mother. She was born in Grenada. She was not just his mother, she was an activist in her own right. And they now are honoring his mother in Grenada because this little organization, the Institute of the Black World 21st Century, has helped to make that happen. And so there's work to be done. And at this stage in my life, and this is the winter time, like spring is long past and summer is gone and fall is too. I have no premonition, so I hope to be around a while. But I think I'm here because I do want to be an elder statesman. I do want to be able to share ideas as we share the torch and pass the torch to a new generation. And a part of sharing that torch and passing that torch is to have us, to remind us, as Jesse Lewis Jackson reminded us, of who we are. We hold the future. He once said that the hands that pick cotton can pick presidents. He paved the way for Barack Hussein Obama to be president. I was there. I understand the strategies and the formula that helped make that happen. We now have a new charge. Because in these United States of America, the place that enslaved us and embedded deep within the system white supremacy and racism that was underneath for a while, but we had a man come out with this MAGAism, this MAGA madnism, placing racism straight in your face, white supremacy straight in your face, having a member of his cabinet who is a white nationalist. In the last administration, and one now. Nasty, ugly. If President Obama had said 1/10 of the things he said, they would have run him out of town. The whole world is now suffering because of the shoot from the hip, don't know what the heck he's doing, President of the United States. The whole world is trembling. That's right. But guess who can save the world? You understand? We are the ones who came from the ancient, it's called Kemet, ancient Egypt. We are the ones who gave birth to the concept of Ma'at, righteousness and justice. We are the people who don't worry about going to battle with swords and with tanks and with armies. We have something greater than that. We have righteousness on our side. That's why in the South, we can sing "We Shall Overcome." That's why we can say, "Ain't gonna let nobody turn us around." That's why we can face dogs and cannons and whatever, knowing that we could overcome. And if not overcoming this time, we have a sense that our ancestors will overcome. So Martin Luther King could go up on the mountaintop and say, "I may not get there with you. It doesn't matter whether I get there. My people will get to the promised land if we understand who we are and whose we are." And so at this critical moment in history, we hold the future. Understand this, the rejected stones, those who were marginalized, those who've been victimized by the war on drugs, those who've been told that we don't count for nothing, which is why Reverend Jesse Jackson coming forth and saying what? "I am somebody," helping to make people to understand that you are somebody, raising us up. Margin of victory is in our hands because a whole lot of white folks don't vote in this country. But guess what happens if you understand who you are and registered by the millions in record numbers? And Reverend Jesse Jackson captured, just go on the internet and look at his speech called Rocks, because he was brilliant in understanding. He said, look, there was a time when there was a giant. His name was Goliath. He was terrifying the land. Everybody was trembling in the face of Goliath. And there came along little David, he said. And little David came along and he said, "David, pick up a rock, get your slingshot, and I'm going to guide you to victory over Goliath." And what did he do? He picked up the rock. He took the slingshot, little David, and hurled it, bang, and Goliath fell. But if you don't pick up your rock, you can't win. We have boats that are laying around on the ground. Pick up the rocks, Reverend Jesse Jackson said. And when we pick up those rocks and march on battle boxes, we will deliver the greatest victory we have ever seen, this nation have ever seen, and we will be the rejected stones that are the cornerstones of a new nation and a new world order. I just came by to say Youngstown, Ohio. I just came by to thank you as the source to understand I am not finished yet. God is not finished with me yet. I intend to be on the front lines until he calls me on to glory, to join those ancestors who came before us. Thank you very much.
every little thing.